The doorbell rang like a gunshot in the quiet suburban house, shattering the fragile peace I'd built around my secret. I opened the door to find my roommate, Ethan, standing there with bloodshot eyes, his fist clenched around a crumpled letter. My confession, the one I'd hidden in my drawer, now exposed. In that instant, our shared apartment in Seattle turned from a sanctuary into a battlefield. As Ethan's face twisted from confusion to rage, and I knew I just ignited a fire that could consume us both. I stepped back, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. "Ethan, wait. Let me explain," I stammered, but he shoved the letter into my face, his voice low and trembling. "Explain? You've been lying to me for years. Alex, we're supposed to be best friends, brothers almost, and you feel this way about me." The words hung in the air, heavy with accusation. We'd met freshman year at the University of Washington, bonding over late-night study sessions and shared dreams of escaping our conservative upbringings. Ethan came from a devout Catholic family in the Midwest, the kind that preached love but practiced judgment. Me? I was the kid from a broken home in Oregon, where my single mom worked 2 jobs and barely had time to notice my struggles. Hiding my sexuality had become second nature, a survival mechanism in a world that still whispered slurs behind closed doors. But that night, everything unraveled. Ethan paced the living room, his athletic frame tense, muscles coiled like a spring ready to snap. "How long, Alex? How long have you been pretending?" His questions came like bullets, each one piercing deeper. I sank onto the couch, burying my face in my hands. "Since the beginning," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "But I never acted on it. I respected our friendship." He stopped pacing, turning to face me with a mix of hurt and betrayal. "Respected? This feels like a betrayal. What if my family finds out? My dad. He'd disown me just for being associated with this." The word, this stung, reducing my feelings to something dirty, something to be ashamed of. I wanted to argue, to tell him that love wasn't a choice, but the fear in his eyes mirrored my own. We'd built a life here, shared classes, weekend hikes in the Cascades, dreams of starting a tech startup after graduation. Now it all teetered on the edge. As the night wore on, Ethan's anger gave way to questions. "Why me? What did I do to make you think?" He trailed off, unable to finish. I explained haltingly, about the way his laugh lit up the room, how his support during my mom's illness had been my lifeline. But each word seemed to widen the chasm between us. By dawn, he packed a bag and left for his girlfriend's place, leaving me alone with the echo of the door slamming shut. The next day, campus felt like enemy territory. Whispers followed me in the halls. Had Ethan told someone? I skipped classes, retreating to our empty apartment, where the silence amplified my inner turmoil. Was loving him wrong? Society said yes in subtle ways, the lack of representation, the lingering stares at same-sex couples. But my heart screamed otherwise. I called my mom, but hung up before she answered. How could I burden her with this? Then the phone rang. It was Ethan's sister, Mia, her voice urgent. "Alex, what happened? Ethan's at home and Dad's furious. He found your letter." My stomach dropped. Ethan's family home was a powder keg of traditional values, where deviation from the norm was met with exile. I imagined Mr. Ramirez, Ethan's father, a stern construction foreman, reading my words and seeing red. I drove to their house in Bellevue that evening, the rain-slicked roads mirroring my slippery resolve. Pulling up to the manicured lawn, I saw Ethan through the window, arguing with his parents. Knocking felt like signing my own death warrant, but I did it anyway. Mrs. Ramirez opened the door, her face a mask of disappointment. "Alex, you shouldn't be here." But Ethan appeared behind her, pulling me inside. "We need to talk," he said, leading me to the backyard. Under the patio lights, he confessed his own confusion. "I don't know what to feel, Alex. Part of me is flattered, but the rest, it's terrifying." We sat on the damp grass, the conversation stretching into the night. He admitted to questioning his own identity in high school, but pushing it down for his family's sake. As we talked, a fragile understanding emerged. But then Mr. Ramirez burst out, letter in hand. This ends now. Alex, you're not welcome here. And Ethan, if you entertain this nonsense, you're out. The ultimatum hung like a guillotine. Ethan looked at me, torn between loyalty and fear. In that moment, I realized the cost of my confession. Not just for me, but for him. I left that night, driving back in silence, wondering if honesty was worth the wreckage. The next weeks blurred into isolation. Ethan avoided me, our apartment a ghost town. I threw myself into work at the campus coffee shop, but the emptiness gnawed. Friends noticed, probing gently, but I deflected. How do you explain shattering a bond over unspoken love? One evening, Mia showed up unannounced. Ethan's struggling, Alex. Dad's pressuring him to move home. She urged me to fight, but what fight? My love had become a weapon, wielded against us by societal norms. I pondered the ethics. Had I been selfish, imposing my feelings without consent? Or brave, for finally speaking truth? Days turned into weeks, and the apartment's emptiness became a constant reminder of the void Ethan left. I wandered the rooms like a ghost, replaying that fateful night. Had I misread the signs? The late-night talks, the shared glances, were they just friendship or something more? Doubt crept in, mingling with regret. At university, I buried myself in lectures on psychology, ironically studying the very conflicts tearing me apart. Professor Hale's class on identity formation hit too close. I zoned out, sketching Ethan's face in my notebook. Classmate Jamie noticed. You okay, Alex? You look like you've seen a ghost. Jamie was openly gay, president of the LGBTQ club, a beacon of confidence I envied. Over coffee, I spilled everything, minus names. Jamie listened, then said, coming out to someone you love is like jumping off a cliff. Sometimes you fly, sometimes you crash. But hiding? That's slow death. His words resonated, but the crash felt all too real. That night, I attended my first club meeting, surrounded by stories of rejection and resilience. It was a lifeline, but guilt nagged. Why drag Ethan into my awakening? Meanwhile, Ethan wrestled with his demons. From what Mia texted, he was holed up at home, arguing with his father daily. Mr. Ramirez, a product of his era, saw homosexuality as a sin, a choice to be corrected. He pushed Ethan toward church counseling, insisting on fixing what wasn't broken. Ethan resisted, but the pressure mounted, eroding his spirit. One afternoon, Ethan called. Alex, can we meet? Neutral ground. We chose a park near campus, the autumn leaves crunching underfoot. He looked haggard, shadows under his eyes. I've been thinking, he started, avoiding my gaze. About us, about what you said. My pulse raced. Was this hope or final rejection? We walked the paths, words tumbling out. He admitted attraction, buried deep under layers of denial. But my family, they'd never accept it. And society, jobs, friends. It's not just us. The maw of reality gaped wide. In America, progress marched unevenly. For every pride parade, there were hate crimes, discriminatory laws lurking. I argued for us, for authenticity. We can't live for them, Ethan. The cost of hiding is too high. But he countered with fears, disinheritance, ostracism. The conversation escalated, voices rising. You're asking me to choose between you and my blood, he shouted, drawing stares. In that public confrontation, something shifted. A passerby sneered, muttering slurs, amplifying the societal pressure. Ethan flinched, retreating. See? This is what we'd face. He left abruptly, leaving me on the bench, tears stinging. Back home, I confronted my own family ties. Calling Mom, I came out fully. Her response? Silence, then, I love you, son, but be careful. Relief mixed with sorrow. Her acceptance was tentative, shadowed by worry. The next blow came via text. Ethan was dating his ex-girlfriend again. A facade to appease his father. Betrayal sliced deep. Had our talks meant nothing? I spiraled, questioning every decision. Was love worth this pain? Jamie pulled me from the brink, inviting me to a protest against anti-LGBTQ legislation. Marching with signs, chanting for equality, I felt empowered. But thoughts of Ethan lingered, a thorn in my side. Then, a late-night knock. Ethan, soaked from rain, eyes desperate. I can't do this anymore. The pretending. It's killing me. He stepped inside, closing the door on the storm outside. In that moment, vulnerability bridged the gap. We talked till dawn, dissecting fears, weighing costs. He revealed his father's ultimatum. Denounce me or lose support. But choosing them means losing myself, he whispered. I held his hand, a tentative touch sparking electricity. No kisses, no rushes, just raw honesty. As dawn broke, Ethan decided to confront his family. With you, he added, squeezing my hand. The path ahead loomed treacherous, but together, perhaps navigable. Yet, doubts whispered. Was this real or rebound from pressure? The moral quandary deepened. Pushing him could destroy him. Letting go might save us both. The high rose as we planned the confrontation, but the stakes skyrocketed. Mr. Ramirez's reaction could shatter everything. The drive to Ethan's family home felt like marching to war. Rain pelted the windshield, mirroring the storm in my gut. Ethan gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white. What if this backfires? He murmured. I had no answer. The risk was monumental. Pulling up, the house looked imposing, lights blazing like accusatory eyes. Mia answered, hugging Ethan fiercely. Dad's in the den. Mom's trying to calm him. We entered, the air thick with tension. Mr. Ramirez sat in his armchair, Bible open, face thunderous. Mrs. Ramirez hovered, wringing her hands. Ethan, Mr. Ramirez boomed, ignoring me. What's this about? Ethan stood tall, voice steady. Dad, I'm gay. And I'm in love with Alex. The words dropped like a bomb, silence exploding in their wake. Mr. Ramirez's face reddened. No, this is a phase influenced by him. He jabbed a finger at me. You've corrupted my son. Accusations flew, societal decay, moral failure. I defended us, citing love's universality, but he dismissed it as liberal nonsense. Mrs. Ramirez wept, caught between husband and son. We raised you better, she whispered. Ethan pleaded, sharing his lifelong struggle, the pain of hiding. This is who I am. But Mr. Ramirez issued the ultimatum. Renounce this lifestyle or leave. Ethan wavered, glancing at me. The internal conflict raged, family bonds versus self-truth. In a heartbeat, he chose. Then I'm leaving. Grabbing a bag, he stormed out, me trailing. We drove to the apartment in stunned silence. Did I just lose my family? He asked, voice breaking. I comforted him, but guilt gnawed. Had my love cost him everything? The aftermath was brutal. Ethan cut ties, blocking calls. Isolation hit hard. He quit classes, job hunting fruitlessly. Prejudice reared, interviews soured upon learning his story, whispered through networks. I supported us on my barista wage, but resentment simmered. This is your fault, he lashed one night, regretting his choice. Arguments erupted, testing our nascent bond. Was love enough against societal backlash? Seeking solace, we joined support groups. Stories of similar exiles bonded us. But Ethan's anger turned inward. I betrayed them, he confessed. Therapy helped, unpacking trauma, but progress was slow. Then, a twist. Mia reached out secretly. Dad's softening. Mom misses you. Hope flickered, but caution prevailed. We met her covertly, plotting reconciliation. But Mr. Ramirez discovered, exploding anew. You're dead to me, he roared over phone. Ethan crumpled, the rejection a fresh wound. In despair, he questioned us. Maybe we should end this. Save what's left. My heart shattered. The price of love seemed insurmountable. Yet, in that low, a turning point, I proposed fighting smarter advocacy, education. We volunteered at LGBTQ centers, channeling pain into purpose. Gradually, Ethan healed, our relationship deepening amid adversity. But shadows lingered. Family rifts don't mend easily. As High built, a surprise. Mrs. Ramirez appeared at our door, tears streaming. I can't lose my son. A crack in the armor, but Mr. Ramirez remained steadfast. The moral maze intensified, was forcing acceptance right or respecting boundaries. Decisions loomed, each with consequences. With Mrs. Ramirez's visit, a fragile bridge formed. She came weekly, bearing homemade meals, sharing stories. Your father's stubborn, but he loves you, she'd say. Ethan softened, but wariness remained. What about Alex? He'd ask. She hesitated, acceptance partial. Meanwhile, societal pressures mounted. At work, I faced microaggressions, coworkers' jokes, customer stares. Ethan landed a job, but hid our relationship, the deception eating at him. Why can't we just be? He'd rant. Our bond strained under weight. Intimate moments turned tense, arguments flaring over trivialities masking deeper fears. One night, after a heated fight, Ethan stormed out. Hours later, he returned apologetic, but damage accrued. Jamie suggested couples counseling. Love's a battlefield. Arm yourselves. Sessions unearthed buried resentments. My initial confession as imposition, his coming out as rushed. We navigated learning communication, but progress was arduous. Then betrayal struck. Ethan reconnected with an old friend, Tyler, straight and supportive. Late nights out raised suspicions. Just friends, he insisted, but intuition screamed otherwise. Confronting him, he admitted emotional leaning. Tyler's easy, no drama. Hurt pierced deep. So you regret us? Tears flowed, the conversation raw. He denied, but doubt seeded. Was this the cost? Infidelity born of pressure? We separated briefly, Ethan crashing with Jamie. Solitude forced reflection. Had I pushed too hard? Society's grindstone wore us down, turning love to survival. Reuniting, we recommitted, boundaries set. But Mr. Ramirez loomed, refusing contact. Mia mediated, arranging a neutral meeting. At a coffee shop, tensions peaked. Mr. Ramirez arrived stony-faced. Why drag us into this? Ethan explained patiently, sharing resources on acceptance. I added my perspective, humanizing our struggle. A chink appeared, he listened, albeit grudgingly. I don't understand, but I miss my son. No embrace, but a step. Post-meeting, optimism surged. Ethan smiled genuinely, hope reigniting. But reality bit, friends distanced, careers stalled by bias. We advocated louder, joining marches, speaking at events. Empowerment grew, but exhaustion followed. Is it worth it? Ethan pondered. A pivotal choice. Relocate to progressive San Francisco for better opportunities. Packing meant leaving roots, a bittersweet trade. En route, conversations deepened. We've paid dearly, I said, but we're stronger. Arrival brought fresh starts, jobs, community. Yet, family wounds festered. Mrs. Ramirez visited, bridging gaps. Mr. Ramirez sent a tentative email. Thinking of you. Healing began, but scars remained. Moral dilemmas persisted. Was compromising identity ethical for peace? As climax neared, a crisis loomed. Ethan's health faltered under stress, forcing reevaluation. San Francisco's vibrancy contrasted our internal storms. We settled in a cozy apartment overlooking the bay, jobs in tech startups offering acceptance. But Ethan's migraines worsened, stress-induced, a physical toll of our journey. Doctors prescribed rest, therapy. You've been in fight mode too long, the counselor said. Ethan opened up about buried trauma, childhood repression, familial expectations. I supported but felt helpless. Amid this, Mr. Ramirez's outreach increased, calls, visits. I'm trying, he'd say awkwardly. Ethan navigated forgiveness, a delicate dance. He hurt me, but he's family. Society's undercurrents persisted. A workplace incident, Ethan outed accidentally, facing subtle discrimination. Promotion denied, he raged. When does it end? I countered with resilient stories from our network. We hosted support groups, turning pain to purpose. Bonds strengthened, love evolving. But temptation resurfaced. Tyler visited, old flames flickering. Ethan confided a near slip. I stopped myself for us. Trust fractured anew, repairs painstaking. Moral reckonings intensified. Was staying together selfless or stubborn? The price, health, happiness mounted. A turning point. Ethan's collapse at work, hospitalized for exhaustion. Waking, he whispered, I can't lose you. Family rallied. Mr. Ramirez flew in, witnessing our devotion. In the hospital room, confrontations peaked. See what this life's done? Mr. Ramirez accused. Ethan defended fiercely. This life is mine. Accept or leave. Tears flowed. Mr. Ramirez relented. I love you, son. Both of you. A breakthrough, hard one. Recovery brought clarity. We recommitted, planning a future, marriage perhaps in a state that allowed. But shadows lingered. Societal battles continued, legislation threats, personal prejudices. As tensions crested, awakening dawned. Ethan emerged stronger, advocating nationally. I joined, our story inspiring. Yet costs tallied, lost years, strained ties. Was it worth it? With Mr. Ramirez's acceptance, family reunions tentative but genuine. Holidays blended awkwardness and warmth, progress in increments. Ethan thrived, health restored, career advancing in an inclusive firm. Our relationship matured, deepened by trials. We traveled, explored identities freely in San Francisco's embrace. Friends multiplied, community a buffer against residual biases. But reflections haunted, decisions dissected, confessions ripple, coming outs cascade. Betrayals forgiven but memories scarred. Ethan proposed one foggy morning, ring simple. Through it all, you're my choice. Wedding small, symbolic, defying odds. Society evolved slowly. Victories like marriage equality contrasted setbacks. We fought on, voices amplified. In quiet moments, we pondered the journey's ethics. Sacrifices for love, right or wrong. A story closed, peace settled. But one question lingered. In pursuing personal truth, do we owe consideration to those it impacts, or is authenticity always paramount?